Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Tammy Johnson, and I'm a solution architect with Socius, and I am going to be talking with you today about Dynamics GP and Dynamics CRM for not-for-profit organizations. Just a couple of, before we get into the details here, just a couple of housekeeping items. You have most likely on the right side of your screen a little GoToMeeting panel, and you'll see an arrow at the very top that's probably pointing to the right. If you click on that, you can minimize the screen. As well, because we are in listen-only mode, we're asking that any questions through the chat window that's at the bottom of that GoToMeeting panel. And you'll see in that chat area, if you expand the little plus, you can type a message. And so I have Cheryl Daniels on the call from Socius as well, and she'll be monitoring that chat window. So if you have any questions, be sure and let us know, and she'll go ahead and interrupt me, and we'll get your questions answered. So I'm just going to dive right in here. We have a lot to cover and a very short time to cover it. And so that kind of goes for my approach today. What I did is I, based on my experience and in talking with our customers, we identified some challenges that not-for-profit organizations typically run into. And so what I'm going to be doing is focusing on using Microsoft technology to address those challenges for you. And so the first ones that we have here are managing constituent relationships, whether they're donors or volunteers or prospective donors, managing the relationships with those who contribute and volunteer for your organization. And continuing on in that kind of topic is tracking the status of pledges and donations. Who's made pledges? Have they made good on their commitment to those pledges? And where are we measuring our results to those pledges? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, as well as determining the success of your programs and campaigns, different activities that you have in your organization to drive constituent, to make pledges, make donations, to volunteer, and support your organization. So the way that we're going to address those three items today is through Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And so just to kind of get things started off here, I wanted to talk a little bit about CRM in general. And so what you're looking at here is it's actually Microsoft Outlook. And this is a really powerful driver, I think, for Dynamics CRM is the ability to use this in Outlook. And this, it just lives here natively. You know, because your users are using Outlook today, they probably don't have to do much to learn how to use CRM. So I'm just going to take you through just real briefly some of the things that are key here. One of them, you can see I've got Bruce Banner here, and he's got a different icon than what you would typically see in an Outlook email. So this is just my inbox, and I can, you know, click around, and you can see that, you know, things change. This is my normal reading pane, my normal Outlook reading pane, and I've got some additional CRM information down here at the bottom. And so I've got these tracked in CRM. These emails are being tracked, and that's just because I pushed a button here that said track. And so I have my particular implementation of CRM, of Outlook really, configured. So this is personal to a user. My Outlook is configured to automatically track in CRM those emails from contacts that I already know. So if someone is being tracked in CRM, their emails are automatically associated back to their record. And so you can see I'm just going to come down here into the CRM area and just click on Bruce Banner. And you can see some information about Bruce here. And we're going to get more into these constituent records, but just to show that you can drill back and see additional information. Now, I can also find information maybe about calendar items. And so if I look at this particular item, I can see that this is being tracked as well. And this is regarding Bruce Banner, so this is an activity that's showing up on in his constituent record today. As well, all of my contacts are tracked, or I can track my contacts. You can see here I've just got Bruce tracked in this example here in this particular list, as well as tasks. So any activities that happen in CRM, email, phone calls, tasks that I might set up, these all also live in my Microsoft Outlook. And that's helpful because I'm in Outlook all day long, and if I've got activities that are due to, that have due dates associated with them, Outlook will just remind me the way it normally reminds me that I need to complete these activities. So it makes it really easy to find and track your to-do items. These are the things that I need to do. Here, Bruce is a new constituent, and I need to call him to talk about our mission and how to participate in our programs, and this is being tracked as a phone call in CRM. So that is, that's an overview of using CRM in Outlook. You also have the option of using different browsers. And so this is an example here. This is Google Chrome. It also works in Safari, Firefox, and of course Internet Explorer. But for what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be accessing CRM through Internet Explorer. I just wanted to bring up another browser just to show you that it does actually work in other areas as well. So let's do this. Let's go in here to Internet Explorer, and let's take a look at the dashboards in CRM. Now, one thing I want to mention is that I'm using the not-for-profit template. So this is Dynamic CRM Online, and I've just applied the not-for-profit template that allows you to configure more for a not-for-profit organization. It uses the terminology and the processes that are more specific to not-for-profits. So this is my dashboard. There are a number of dashboards that just come out of the box. This is just an example. Users can create their own dashboards, as I have done here. This is my dashboard. And you can interact with these dashboards pretty easily. So if I wanted to drill down and get more information about my volunteers, I could just click on the drill down, and it's going to open it up in another window and allow me to start moving around and interacting with this particular data set. And so what I'm going to do here is I've got, this is showing me my volunteers by city, and maybe I've got a, I don't know, an event that I need to staff. I need volunteers to staff an event in Renton. So I'm just going to click on that. I've got 4 volunteers here. And if I want to quickly contact them, it's very easy. I can check them all. It's kind of a standard thing that we're used to doing, to check all the boxes at once. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add what's called a quick campaign. And what this will allow me to do is create activities for a large group of records. So volunteers needed for upcoming Renton event. And it can be any sort of activity that I choose. So I could send an email to all of these individuals, or I can do a phone call. I'm just going to do a phone call. And then I can script it. And then, you know, whatever, and I want this to be due by Friday. It's going to be 30 minutes. It's an outgoing call. And now it's going to create these 4 phone call records for me. So I can use this now to contact each of these constituents, and you know, it allows me to contact them all, create those activities in bulk, and contact them about this particular volunteer opportunity. There's just an example. Now keep in mind, if I'm the owner of that phone call activity, it's going to go into my Outlook tasks. It's going to be visible in my activity center here. And so here you can see it's set up 4 phone calls for me that are due on Friday, and I can come into my activity center and go ahead and say, you know, I want to see all of my phone calls that are due, you know, all of my phone calls that are due in the next 7 days, for example. And it'll show me everything that I need to do in the next 7 days. So in addition to my volunteers by city, I've also got a chart here that shows my top 3 volunteers, and that's based on volunteer hours. Here I've got my top 5 donors, and those are based on donation amount, lifetime donation amount. And then at the bottom here, I've got an overview of the programs that are active right now. And I have my 2013 pledge drive here. I can see what my goal is. I can see the pledges that I have remaining to collect. I can see the donations, the pledges that I've actually collected, and then that's what's left. That's the difference between my goal and the pledges that I've actually taken in. So I can really easily measure the results of my programs, as well as campaigns. My example here is programs. So let's talk for a minute about the different kinds of relationships that we have. Dynamics CRM, the RM stands for relationship management, whether it's constituents, customers, prospects, households, organizations, whatever it is, it's all about relationships. So we're going to start here with a prospect. And one thing you'll see in Dynamics CRM is the ability to have different views of information. So what I've got here is my open prospects. So these are the prospects that are assigned to me. I can also use any of these other system views, and keep in mind access to these is based on my security permissions. I can also create personal views if I want, so I can sort and filter these and save them and access them any way that I want, and come in and you know, review the information. So what I'm going to do here is let's just pick one of these prospects here. I'm going to pick Susanna here, and we're just going to open up and just briefly review her prospect record. Keep in mind that any of the fields, the data fields that you see here, can be customized. You can add new fields. You can move fields off the form. You can have multiple forms available, and that's based on roles. So maybe a volunteer might have a different view of the information than an employee in the organization. So just keep that in mind. Any and all of this information can be changed. So I've got a topic here for my prospective donor, and I've just collected her name and phone number and some address information. Now I can see as well any activities that are open for her. So these might be emails, phone calls, anything that I need to do. So this is isolated to the prospect. Remember, and logically it might be more useful to access this from my activity center, so I can see everything all at once. But I can, if I choose, you know, look at each one individually as well. And then I can see everything I've done. So here we go. Here's a volunteer call, another volunteer call that I made, as well as call to follow up on an interest card. This was an email that was generated here. And we can see here that in this particular case, this phone call was regarding what's called a campaign response. So I'm going to drill into that. And this was actually as a result of our 2013 Volunteer Roundup campaign. And so this was a marketing event that we did to kind of get our volunteers shored up for the year. And that campaign activity happened when so I've set up the different things ways that I need to contact my in this case my prospects for this particular campaign. I've done the initial invitation. It's already been distributed, and when I distribute this, it actually distributed out to the prospective volunteers marketing list. And that came about, it's a dynamic marketing list that I created, so anybody who has volunteer checked and is a prospect, they automatically get added to this marketing list. So when I distributed this campaign activity, it did it automatically for me. I didn't have to go in and individually, let me spread that out here, individually pick those people that needed to be in that, participate in that particular email. And we've got a second invitation here. I could go ahead and distribute this, and it would go ahead and send that email out to everyone in that marketing list. The fact that the email was sent, as we saw, is captured specifically to that record. So in this case, it's a prospect. So you can see everything you've done for every prospect, for every constituent throughout your all of your CRM system. And so the goal here would be to get this this particular prospect far enough through my qualification process to say, yep, we're ready for them to become a constituent now, as opposed to being just a prospective constituent. So let's move down here into constituents and talk about some of the information that we've got here. Again, I've got views that I can use, and active donors, active volunteers. So these are all just system views, and again, I can create my own. We're going to look at active constituents, and let's go ahead and pick on Bruce Banner again here. We saw him in the very beginning when we were talking about Outlook. So let's go ahead and pick on him again. Now I can see some, again, general information about Bruce Banner. I can see the status of donations and pledges. So he's made 13 donations, totaling $6,300 over the course of his, his relationship with our organization. I can also see volunteer information, and so here you can see that his lifetime volunteer hours are 21. He participated in Garden Day, and that was 5 hours of volunteer time. And he also participated in the Pledge Drive program, so he volunteered 16 hours for that. I can look at all of the tasks. So these are all of the activities. Here's the phone call that we generated for the Renton event. And you can see I've got a new constituent phone call that I need to complete here. This was actually sent as a result of workflow. So when I set up this new constituent called Bruce Banner, I have my system configured so that it will automatically set up a new phone call so that I can call them, and I can open this up. Again, this is going to show up in my activities as well. We saw this phone call. I'm not sure if it was for Bruce Banner, but maybe for another constituent, call to discuss our mission and how to participate in our programs. I can take notes. So if I wanted to, if I left a message or I wanted to take any sort of a note, I could associate a note with this. The goal, of course, is to mark it complete and get this off my to-do list. So I'm going to mark it complete, and you'll notice, hopefully we'll get a new one here. And so I could have kicked off another phone call now as a result of completing that one, maybe to follow up in 6 months or whatever it is that follows my process. So again, and I can just like we saw in our activities, I can filter these by when they're due or when they were completed. And so that those are activities. I can also look at my communication history. So here was the email I sent about the pledge drive. Here's the new constituent phone call that we just completed. What this is doing now is it's giving me a full view of all of the interactions that I've had with a particular constituent. So let's just keep going here. We can look at the donations and volunteer history. And so this is a more transactional view as opposed to a chart or a graph. So these are all of the donations that Bruce has ever made and their status. So there might be some that are outstanding. So those would be pledges, the result of pledges. And then I can see the pledges that he's made as well. So in 2012, he pledged $6,000, and we collected all of that. In 2013, he's pledged $1,200, and it's divided up. It looks like it's quarterly here. And we've collected $300. We have $900 left to collect. Now I can also, in my constituent, apply them to households or organizations. And so you could, for example, if you had a family where you have individuals, and then, but you want to track them back to the family, that overarching family, you could do that. An organization could also be a business. So you might have a business that has several employees that are participating in your organization. You could apply those here as well. I think skills are important, especially if you have a community service type organization, because that way you can determine who to contact for what sort of maybe volunteer activities that you have coming up. So in this case, we can see Bruce has skills in food service, gardening, and then he's good at manning the phones for the pledge drive. And so again, I can use these in charts and views and all of the things that I would need to do to determine who the best person for staffing a particular event might be. So I'm going to pause for just a second. Cheryl, do we have any questions?
We do have a question. Somebody was wondering if you could go over how to use this for programs and campaigns. It was in that window that you had pulled up.
Yeah. I actually I'll go, but let me do this. Yeah, we'll look at this again. Sure, we'll go ahead and do that. So I've got a couple of programs set up here, and I've got my pledge drive. And so you can see I've got my goal, and this is actually what's showing up on my home page on my dashboard. So it's showing me basically the status of that campaign, or that in this case a program. And you can see my progress towards my goal here. I can look at all of the donations relating to this, and if I actually launched a campaign, if this was part of a campaign, I could actually associate this program to a campaign. I might have multiple campaigns that I execute in order to drive the activity toward a specific program. Tried to say program and specific at the same time. And so I can track all of that information here. Again, all the donations that have been made and all the pledges that have been made, and then any constituents that have helped me fulfill this particular program. And as I mentioned, we saw my volunteer campaign, my volunteer roundup campaign. And so in this case, what I'm able to do, again, I can associate this with a program if I choose to. I can collect goal information about, maybe I have specific goals around what I'm going to raise for a certain campaign. And then I can associate marketing lists. And you can see I've got my prospective volunteers list here. And again, this particular marketing list is a dynamic marketing list, which means the members are managed based on or added based on a query that's been generated. And basically I said if they're a prospective volunteer, add them to this marketing list. And you can see there's Susanna that we saw earlier. And so what happens when I'm executing a campaign is I can set up different campaign activities at different intervals, so they might have different due dates. And then as I distribute these campaigns or these activities, those contacts are made however it is, whatever channel I choose. And you can set up email templates and things like that to make this easier. But when I distribute this, then the emails or the phone calls to be made or whatever activity it is gets set up and associated with those constituents or prospective constituents automatically. You can also use things like Constant Contact to those email marketing automation applications, Exact Target, Constant Contact, to help you with that drip email because you don't want to send things out all at once or you'll get put on a bad guy list. So hopefully that gave you a little bit more on programs and campaigns. I want to move into donations here, and hopefully that'll help you understand how you can apply these to your programs and campaigns as well. So what I'm going to do, I think, is let's go ahead and now notice I can have goods and services or monetary donations. I can also manage pledges, and so you can see here I've got a whole list of pledges that were made for 2012 and 2013. I'm actually going to bring my ribbon back here. I had it hidden. I'm going to set up a new pledge just so you can see what that's like. And my pledge is going to be for Deborah Garcia. This is going to be her 2013 pledge. Now this could be any pledge, any program. Someone might just call in and say, I'm going to pledge you, pledge an amount for the year. That's fine. And I'm going to actually apply this to my pledge drive program. I could apply it to a campaign as well. I'm going to say this is a cash donation or a cash pledge, and it's $100. It can be one time. I'm going to make it quarterly. You can see the frequency, and we'll make it start May 1st. And we're going to say it's quarterly, so there's going to be, actually let's not do it quarterly, let's do it monthly. And we'll make 4 occurrences, so we'll just split it into 4. And that's all I really need to do. I can go ahead and close this. And when I save this, what it's going to do is it's going to set up so we can see there's Deborah's pledge. If I go look at my donations now, I should see Deborah Garcia. Let's sort this by name. I think it's sorted by due date now. So there's Deborah's 4 pledges for $25 a piece. So it just created those for me automatically. As I receive those, I maybe have a view that I want to say these are outstanding donations. And so that shows me everything that's outstanding. And I want to come in and collect. Let's collect from, let's do another sort here, and let's collect this first donation from Deborah for May 1st. Real simple to come in and collect it. Collected it on May 1st. I can change the date. I can say it's closed May 1st, and she paid with a check. And I can say that this is no longer outstanding. It's collected. And now it's going to move that along in my pledge process. So I'll have $25 more in my collected pledges. And so that's going to affect the dashboards here on my workplace and my results basically, so that I'm closer to my goal here and measuring my results. So hopefully we've covered what we needed to do here. Talked about constituents and prospective constituents, tracking the status of pledges and donations, including collecting against those donations, and then determining the success of programs and campaigns. So hopefully you saw how we're able to measure where we are, our results on our programs and campaigns. So do we have any other questions, Cheryl, before we move on to the next set of challenges?
Nope, I think we're good to continue.
Okay, great. So we're going to move this more to the back of the house now, talking about controlling costs and budgets, keeping our funds in balance, doing some grant and program accounting, And then reporting and business intelligence, so collecting all of the data and getting it back in a manner that makes sense for your organization. So those are just some of the challenges that we've identified. And to address those, we're going to be looking at Dynamics GP. So let me get into GP here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start with a kind of just an overview, and then from there we'll dig into some of the specific challenges, the details on the challenges. So what you're looking at is my GP homepage, and you know, it looks a lot like CRM. It looks a lot like Outlook. It's Microsoft. And you can see I've got some different areas in my homepage. Now keep in mind that this is completely personalized by the individual. So when they're first set up as a user in Dynamics GP, they're assigned a role, and then from there they can personalize their homepage based on their security permissions. So I can see everything. Most users would not be able to see the level of information that I'm able to see, so keep that in mind. You only see, the menus only display what you have access to. So I've got a to-do area here, and I've got some metrics and key performance indicators, as well as reports and quick links. And we're going to start off today here in the to-do area. And you can see I've got some reminders. So I've got a recurring general ledger batch that I need to post, and I've got 2 undefined fixed assets. So keep in mind, Dynamics GP comes with fixed asset tracking, including depreciation and the ability to keep your asset inventory. I've got 2 assets that I purchased that I need to set up. I've also got 103 payables that are due today, and so maybe as a financial person, maybe an accounting manager or a controller, that's probably something that I want to pay attention to. So I'm just going to click on that. And this is going to open up a tool that's part of Dynamics GP called Smart List. And this is something that as consultants we use this a lot. Our clients use this a lot as well. It's a way for you to query the information in Dynamics GP without having to understand SQL or programming scripting language. And I like that because I'm not a developer. I can't write code. But I can certainly use SmartList, and I use it all the time. It's pretty easy. You just create your search. You say what you want to see. So I want to see everything that's due today, which my today is 4/12/2017. That's my demo data. I can decide what columns of information I want to appear. I have 4, but you can see there's a whole lot more than just the 4 columns that I have. There's statistical information about the vendor and, you know, of course, the payable, just lots of information. And then I can save this as a favorite. And part of saving it as a favorite is the option to save it as a reminder, and that's how it got on my homepage. As I said, I want this to be a reminder. This is a great tool for research. So if you need to find something, a specific number or information about a specific vendor or general ledger account, just set your query and find exactly what you're looking for instead of printing a great big report. And then you can just double click, and it's going to take you to that particular transaction. In this case, it's a payable. And I can see how this was distributed in my general ledger as well. So what you're looking at here is the account string that's been defined for my demo company. You can have up to 66 characters and up to 10 segments. I have 9 characters and 3 segments. So I have fund, account, and then my natural account, and then location. But you can have, you know, if you need 4 or 5 segments and then they need to be 4 or 5 characters each, that's totally fine. And you can structure it in any way that you want. Keeping in mind that being able to pull the information out on the other end is pretty easy if you've got these segmented correctly. So it's one of those planning things that you need to do up front. Okay, now I can also, because I'm looking at a vendor, maybe there's more I want to know, like what transactions have I generated for this particular vendor over the life of the vendor, and I can see all that information here. If I want to share this, I can print it out and send it to a text file, or you know, print a piece of paper and hand it to someone. But what most folks do with their SmartList results is they push that Excel button and they send the data out to Excel. So we're talking about Microsoft. It's Microsoft Dynamics GP feeding Microsoft Office Excel. They play very nicely together. You can see everything comes out forwarded, everything comes out formatted properly. Numbers are numbers, dates are dates, text is text. I don't have to do any parsing or anything like that. So this is an example of a static export. So it's at the point that I push that Excel button, whatever's in my SmartList window is what's going to be exported. And because it's Excel, I can filter and do calculations and things like that if I want to. There are also a number of ways to create refreshable Excel reports and dashboards using the data in Dynamics GP, and I can show you an example of one of those here. We're going to look at this financial dashboard. So I can, this is pulling directly from Dynamics GP, and I can filter this. In this case, we're looking at the cash inflow. So I can filter it. I'm going to hold down my control key and do, you know, here's 2010, here's 2011, here's 2012, and you can see things changing and moving as I update the information there. And so again, this is just it's Excel. It's all Microsoft. It plays well together, and it uses things that you're used to using, like Excel. So this is an example of a refreshable live Excel dashboard. And we'll look at some other dashboard tools, chart and dashboard tools as we go along today as well. So I'm going to pause for just a second and ask if there are any questions, Cheryl?
There are not right now.
Okay. So let's move on and talk about one of the issues, one of the challenges that we saw was controlling budgets and costs to those budgets. And so I want to talk about Dynamics GP budgeting for just a second here. So you can see I have a whole list of budgets here. Keep in mind that I can have as many budgets as I want for a given year. So if I need 4 or 5 different budgets for 2017, no problem. They can be for the fiscal year, or they can be for specific months or time periods. They can even cross a year if that's what I need to do. I can view these in GP. I can also create and manage my budgets through Excel. Again, you know, it's Microsoft, and it plays nicely with all of the Office, Office applications. One of the ways that I can manage my budgets through Excel is I can create a separate budget, maybe for each department, and it can be based on actuals or prior year budgets, or a % increase or decrease based on a historical year, or it can be blank. And then you can send that out to your department heads or your business unit leaders, have them complete their budgets, and then you can just import them in from Excel. And once you have them in Dynamics GP, you can actually combine them. So you can have all of the individual budgets and combine them together into that top level budget. And that's the one that you're generally going to use to manage against your commitments, purchase commitments, and things like that. So just to give you an example here, here's a travel account, and you can see I've got 900 budgeted, and I can override this if I want to. Now, occasionally, you'll need to make changes to your budgets. Actually, I would say not even occasionally. I would say frequently. And when that happens, you have some options. You can just use your existing budget and copy it and create a new budget. You can also do budget transactions. And so to do a budget transaction, it's just like a journal entry. And I put the wrong account. There we go. It's just like a journal entry in that you can just make an adjustment. I could do a minus 50 or whatever it was I wanted to do for that particular entry. And I can, make these adjustments account by account. I can do ranges of accounts if I want. I can have it automatically calculate something. I want to, for a particular department, maybe I want to do an adjustment. I want to reduce it by 2%. So I can go ahead and make all those changes. The point to this is that it becomes an auditable transaction. So if you've got someone that comes in later and wants to see, exactly all of the activities that have happened around your budgets, you can show them that pretty easily. So budgets, as we will see a little later on, of course, can be included in financial reports, and so you can measure your results against your budget, and I promise I'll show you that. But it can also be applied to your purchase process, requiring approvals before things can be committed to a particular budget. So here in this example, I've got a purchase order for a travel company. That's my vendor. And it's for airfare, and I've got $200 here. I'm going to override this and make this $10,000. I'm going to make it extreme here. Remember, my budget was $900 a month. So I'm going to try and approve this now, and it's telling me right away. Now I have my my commitment set up so that it warns me if it looks at the year-to-date budget. So it's going to look at to see if I have anything available year-to-date. It says it's exceeded the account by $6,800. Do I want to authorize this amount? I have a password set, so if I said yes, it would require me to enter the password before I could actually approve this particular PO. I'm going to say no, and we're going to put it back to $200 and go ahead and approve it. And then I'll show you. In addition, once again, to including this in my financial reports, I can also look at this through GP. If I put the right account. So I can see here in period 4, so this is my travel account, I have $400 in actual, and if I drill back, I can see that this was a payables transaction, again to a travel company, and so I'm able to see that information here. I can also see the POs that have been committed. So here's my $200, and I can drill back and look at that. I can even drill back and get a view of the purchase order if I want to. So, and then once that the invoice is generated for that purchase order, that $200 gets moved to actual. But I'm able to see the percentage against the commitment to my budget, basically. So it's $600. I have $300 left in my budget, and I've the variance is 33%. So I have 33% of my budget left. I can also see it year to date here as well. All right, I'm gonna stop again, Cheryl. Kind of stop after each section and.
Nope, I don't think. If you want to remind everyone how to submit the questions, maybe.
Yep, I can do that. So in your GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar panel, usually on the right side of your screen, there's a area that says chat. And if you expand that area, you can type in a question, and then Cheryl will grab those and let us know when we have questions, or I'll stop and ask for questions as well. All right. So one of the other issues was fund balancing, keeping those funds in balance. Dynamics GP has interfund capabilities, and so this is just a journal entry. My example here is going to be a journal entry. So a couple things about the journal entry before we talk specifically about interfund is you can do reversing entries. So that's really handy if you're doing an accrual. And when I choose reversing here, it'll change, allow me to set my reversing date. So this might be 4/30, and my reversing date might be 5/1. As well, I can, throughout the system, not just in General Ledger here, but also through payables and all of the other areas of Dynamics GP, set recurring batches at whatever frequency, and it will keep track of when I need to post those. And remember, we saw on my home screen that I actually have one sitting out here that I need to post. So what I've got here is I've got some entries. I'm going to expand this for two different funds. So I've got Fund 100 and Fund 200. And I've defined the relationship between these funds. So it knows when these go out of balance, so which I'm doing here, I'm forcing these two funds to go out of balance, that it will need to generate a balancing entry. So when I post this, and I'm just generating an edit list here. So when I generate the edit list, you can see it takes my two original transactions that I posted, the two entries that I posted, and it actually creates a due to, due from entry for each of those. So it's keeping those funds in balance. So I don't have to worry about doing any sort of interim step to balance them. It knows behind the scenes how to balance those entries for me. So the last transactional thing that I'm going to talk about here is the ability to track expenses and revenue as well to grants or programs. And so in this particular example here, I've got just a standard AP transaction. This is a standard payable. And I've recorded my purchase amount to Carlson Specialties. I can track 1099s as well in Dynamics GP, and it tracks it to the form inbox level. So I can override the default, miscellaneous form as well as the box number on that form if I need to. If I look at my distributions here, so this is how this is posting in the general ledger. So in my ledger, I'm saying that this is going to a food and beverage account. And when I recorded this transaction, an additional window popped up allowing me to distribute this to a grant, a program. It doesn't have to be grant or program. It can be activities. You can use this for, if you want to keep track of specific trips when you travel. The sky's the limit. I'm using it for grant reporting, and I can even apply budgets to these grants if I choose to as well. And the system will not allow me to post a transaction based on the rules that I've defined for my budget. So it'll validate this against my budget, and then based on the rules that I've given it, it'll generate a warning, or it will even prevent me from posting it. But in this example, I'm recording this to the Wyatt Grant, the Healthy Kids Program. And so I can track this back now from reporting. And so let's look at some reporting here. I'm going to open my report viewer, and we can look at the results for that specific grant. So I'm just going to go, I have a folder here called Demo. I'm just going to open that. Here's my Wyatt grant. I'm just going to double click on that. Now this, what I'm looking at here is called Management Reporter, and this is the tool that I've used to create this grant report. There are a number of reporting options. You've seen Excel. You could use Excel to create reports for grants. You can also use SQL Server reporting services, and we'll look at some of those reports here in a few minutes as well. In this example, I'm just doing monitoring my year-to-date activity. I could include budgets on here if I want to, but you can see I've got all the activity for this particular grant right here in this report. Now, one thing to remember when we're looking at reporting, and so this is external to the Dynamics GP application. So anyone who has security permissions can view this information. So you don't have to be a user in the system. You can push these reports out, the Excel reports, the management reporter, SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Service reports. Those can all be pushed out based on security to business unit leaders, executives, board members, however you want to do that. But the bottom line is they don't have to have a user license. So this is just one example of a report. I've got another one here, and don't pay so much attention to content as the concepts that I'm going to communicate here. So this is a kind of a standard income statement report that that we've created, and you can see I've got a logo on it. And now this particular report is spanning my current period and year-to-date, and then it's also measuring my variance to my year-to-date budget. You can have any columns of information, any time frames. You can filter them in any way that you want. They can be calculated, which is what we've done with the variance here, and you'll see some different views of this as well in just a few minutes. I can see down here in the bottom, so these are just groupings of accounts, basically. And I can see that I have a comment at another level of the report, so I'm interested in knowing what that is, so I'm just going to drill in here. And you can see here's also by fund here. It's showing me for each fund the advertising expense. And so I'm just going to drill in one more. And I can see on this report now all of the transaction detail that's rolling into that particular line. So I've got a quarter-page ad on the 1st to Business Week, and here's the invoice number. Here's a transaction that came through without a description, and so as someone who's managing this process, I might say, well, you know what, someone's going to ask what that is, even though it didn't get entered with the transaction. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a comment. So if I click on this line, you can see when I hover, it says it's a Lobby Magazine subscription. It also appears here in my comment pane. And so this can prevent and actually save a lot of time for you as you're publishing your financial reports, allowing individuals to drill down and see comments that you've recorded or that others have recorded about specific transactions. It saves that time on the phone when you're asked to pull invoices and things like that, because they really have everything right in front of them, the invoice number, who it was, a description of what it was, when it happened, and how much. So that's another example, and hopefully that illustrated the drill down capabilities of Microsoft Management Reporter. I want to just show you one other report here, and that is my fund statement. So this one looks a little different. It's definitely more not-for-profit focused. And you can see I've got each of my funds listed across the top, and then the revenues and different expenses that relate to those funds. So a little bit more specific to a not-for-profit organization. So there's some examples of some financial reports. Obviously, there are a whole bunch of operational reports that just come with Dynamics GP, things like a general ledger trial balance and a receivables aging and a check register or an outstanding checks report from bank reconciliation. All of those things are just kind of there, as you would expect with an accounting type application. There's also some additional capabilities here and around being able to have actionable information that's really relevant to your organization in the hands of those who really need it. And keeping in mind that, individuals who need this more key performance indicators and metrics and things like that may not be those who are in Dynamics GP entering and posting data, entering accounts payable, for example. That person probably doesn't care about the cash position. It's more of a higher level, key performance indicator. And so what I've got open here is the Business Analyzer. And this is just a collection of metrics and key performance indicators that, once again, you can share out with, and based on security, but share with individuals in your organization, maybe who are not, maybe who are executives or managers or business unit leaders, maybe they're not individuals who are processing data through Dynamics GP. But you can see we've got, these are just examples. There are a couple of hundred of these that come out of the box. You can create your own. You can change the ones that are here. And again, security decides who gets to add what to their Business Analyzer. You can interact with these as well. So if we're looking at our cash position report, I can actually open this report in a browser and start drilling into information. So I can say I want to see more about that net change versus last month. I see spikes, and this looks like it's pretty standard for me, but I'm going to just drill in here. It's cash position, so it's going to be looking at my cash general ledger accounts. I can expand this. Now, as someone who doesn't have a user license for Dynamics GP, this is as far as I can go. But if I'm a GP user, I can pick any of these lines and just drill in, and it's going to take me back to the journal entry. This was a payables check. I can see who I wrote it to, what invoices it applied to, how it went in the general ledger. Hopefully it was cash and accounts payable. So you're able to not only generate the reports, but also interact with them through the Business Analyzer. Now you may have noticed as well, not only are these charts available through the Business Analyzer dashboard, they're also available, and oops, that's not GP. Let me find GP. Where did it go here? Available and visible inside of Dynamics GP. So here I've got my cash position, and I've got a payables aging here as well. The same sort of rules apply. I can, view the report and drill into it if I choose to as well. All right. So I'd like to make one final call for questions.
I think we're okay to close.
Okay, good. So next steps. If you're ready to move forward to the next step, here are some things that you can do. You can get a 40% discount on the GP 2013 Starter Pack. You can get Dynamics CRM online for a promotional price as well. We'd be happy to provide you with a business strategy assessment, and you can look at some of our case studies and review how GP and CRM work for our not-for-profit clients. If you do have any follow-up questions, here's my contact information. Please feel free to get in touch with me. If I can't answer your question, I'll find someone who can. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and I'll give you back a minute of your time. So thank you very much for joining our webinar today.